What is going on, everybody? It's Real with Jordan and Demi in LA. I'm Jordan in the UK, all the way. It's late at night there in the UK. We got Demi Ramos.
11 p.m.
What's going on?
Let's
and
go.
Our guest today is Bear from Need to Breathe. What's going on, Bear?
I'm great, man. How y'all doing?
So you've got the new album out. You're on tour. You're right in the thick of it.
Yeah.
So the new album Caves is out, and we'll get into collabs later. But you're on tour right now. I think you're on the west side of the country right now. What is tour life like for you? How comfortable is your tour bus situation? Do you like to glamp it up, or what's your lifestyle like on tour?
It's good, man. I mean, it's always about how the vibe backstage is. I always say shows are better when the backstage, when the crew's good, and when the band's, we're in Reno right now, and we're played Sacramento last night. We got tattoos after the show last night, which was awesome.
Matching tattoos?
They're not matching. No, I got one. The drummer got his first, which was a big deal. So if his mom's watching this, I'm sorry to be the one to break the news, but
oh no, that's a big deal. That's a big deal to get, especially like after the age of 20. It's a big deal to get to be the,
most of us have them, but it was it's literally this girl, we had tried to do it in Oregon or something like that. She comes to the VIP. It's like, hey, you try to get a tattoo one time. I brought my gear this time. Like, after the show, let's do it. So it was pretty cool.
What did you get?
I got like some cougars, like it's like a line drawing thing. It's like I've been drawing forever, years on my phone. So,
oh, really? So it's a long time coming.
Yeah.
Nice. Now you just pull a piece of flash off the wall.
Kind of crazy band when you're on tour, and there's like different kinds of bands. There's ones that like do the chill thing, the sober tour.
Yeah.
So you guys are the wild childs.
We're really not anymore. I mean, we've been doing this over 20 years. So like definitely the first 10 or so years we would have been Rolling Stones and the Beatles, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But now everybody's pretty chill. What's nice now is have a good time like that, and you don't worry somebody's going to go off the rails. Nobody's going to be careful. There's none of that kind of riffraff, which is nice. This allows everybody to have a good time and not be worried about everybody.
Yeah, not as many shenanigans.
Yeah, it's not. But we honestly have more fun touring than we ever have, because I think we have a realization of like, man, we're gonna be doing 50 shows. Like we're not as young as we used to be.
Yeah.
Great everything. So, but after the show is where we're sort of wind down happens, and we're having fun.
Right. Now you got the new album out, Caves. You're on tour with Judah and the Lion, and you have the track Dreams on the new album with them. Have you guys known Judah for a while, or how did you kind of get acquainted with him?
Yeah, we played shows together years ago, and he told me he was a big fan of the band, like probably 10 or 15 years ago, maybe. And then told me a story when he started talking about doing this tour and writing the song and all that he had come and seen us play when he was in college, and was like, oh, I think I want to make a band. Now I know what to do. Which makes a lot of sense. I look back at photos from that time. They were dressing like us and playing a banjo and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But it's to watch them had their success sort of in a different world than ours in a lot of ways. They went and did a 21 Pilots tour and an Incubus tour.
They're more on the alternative side of things.
Me and him get along really well. He's younger than me, obviously, but he played college baseball and college football, so we have a little bit of that kind of competitive thing.
Yeah, Demi's kind of a sports person. I'm just giving her a hard time. But no, yeah, Judah was on our show about I looked it up. It's been almost 3 years since he was on our show. But just a real a gym of a guy. The phrase "gym of a guy" was made for Judah for sure.
Yeah, he's a sweetheart. He's an awesome performer too. I mean, the guy's
wild. Oh yeah.
He does it all the way. It's really fun. But the kind of guy like after the show will send you like this sweet message, like, man, I'm so inspired, that kind of thing. So it's been
fun fact. You guys did a tour with Taylor Swift, right? And
we did.
Like 2011.
Yeah.
Who was that like?
Shows, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
that was crazy for us because like we were at the time we were kind of like a rock club band, like doing like maybe 2,000 tickets a night kind of thing. So it was like happening, but we had never played, you know, like Cowboy Stadium and all that stuff. So it was like
Yeah.
immediately it was like, oh, there's 80,000 people here. Now we got to figure out how to do this.
Right.
And I felt like it just taught us a lot with that because we knew the rock and roll, like don't talk a lot, just play the songs kind of vibe. But then really relate to that when your face is on the video, all that stuff. And also her work ethic is pretty, I mean, everybody knows it, but it's pretty crazy. I had not met anybody that I thought worked as hard as me until I met her. I think it taught the whole band a lot about, you know, pro really.
Professionalism, work ethic.
Yeah.
I think there are two types of bands. I think they're the rock and roll bands that talk to a crowd and engage. And then you have like the ones that just go on, play, and just rush off. I don't know what that's about. So why were you the rock and roll band that just kind of like dipped off the stage?
You're not a big stage banter kind of guy?
Yeah. What happened?
Honestly, like I feel like that's probably been the hardest work I've had to do, you know, in the band is really like the front man kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's not my personality. I'm very shy. And, but also I just grew up on like Black Crowes were like my favorite band when I was in high school or whatever. So it's like Tom Petty, all that kind of stuff. So it was like, it was just, I was a very, like, I didn't even want to like put the guitar down. I was like, when I was in high school, any band that didn't play guitar, like, and the singer just sang, I was like, I'm out on that. You know what I mean? Like, that's not me.
You're like soft.
Yeah. Which is silly, obviously, looking back at it, and you realize, like, obviously, you can't get outside the club without doing that in some ways. And then you start realizing, man, it's so much more about a conversation with the audience than it is about what you're actually playing. And I think that's true, like with every artist I see. Like being able to relate nights, make it feel like this night is the only night they're seeing it, and it's special.
Oh yeah. I mean, and it's got to be cool for you. I mean, you guys play arenas. There's got to be moments when you're playing like your most popular songs and the audience is just eating up, where you got to be looking around and be like, this is so cool. Like this still after 20 years.
Our fans are really weird. Like, I mean, I tell them that too. I mean, it's like, it's the broadest. It's like, if you were to see it, it's like every age group, every sort of demographic, like belief system, all that stuff, like just like piled into one place. And they're the kind of fans that like sing all the B-sides as loud as they sing the hits. That to us, like, you know, the Avett Brothers were kind of a band that like we saw coming up, was like, they're doing it the right way in that way, where it's just like, they can play any set. People are cool. We feel like that. And that's probably where we're playing the song that's like, you know, not a big song in our catalog, never had a video. There's no like, you know, and our fans are singing it back. They've been living their lives to it. That book.
I think fans really appreciate when you play an album cut that's a fan favorite, because there is like that cross section of fan favorites that weren't singles, you know.
Oh, dude, it's more and more with the streaming. We're finding songs off our old records like streaming like crazy. Like, beautiful thing. It didn't used to be like when I was coming up. It was like when the record cycle was over, the record is like put to bed, you know.
Right.
Our fans are finding 3 records ago and making them essentially hits to us right now.
Yeah. Let's talk about the making of this album. You do have multiple collaborations on here. You have the Judah song. You have Carly Pierce. There's somebody else I'm missing. I had him. Yeah.
There's several.
Yeah. So is this, I was forgetting about the Foy Vance, Old Dominion was the big one. And that is more of like the straight, because one thing that's interesting about you guys is you guys have always been like this labelless, but people want to label you things kind of band. And I like that you have these songs on this album that sound like country songs that sound are like almost approaching metal. And then the songs that are almost like acoustic singer songwriter, more, you know, top 40 pop songs. So do you almost like kind of enjoy that people want to categorize you?
Horrible for marketing, obviously, but it's like, it's just the only way to do it. Like, just trying to make records that don't bore. You know, like if you were to listen to the whole thing like a playlist in that way. And I think we're a real band, which just doesn't hardly exist anymore for a million reasons, but like in the sense of like everybody gets input in the band. It's like, this is
wow.
So I like this kind of music. I like this. Here's what I've been listening to. Let's work on something that, you know, drives like, and I think that that's always been important. Just I was a big fan of like Beck and Jack White and all that kind of stuff, with the sense of like every record felt like, who knows where they're about to go with this, you know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah.
Hip hop records, and then did a folk record, that won a Grammy. Like I thought, if we could create an audience that was okay with that sort of surprise time, that would keep us inspired and keep it fresh for us.
I always find it interesting, working with Old Dominion, working with Judah's now down to a duo, but the idea of a band doing a song with another band, like how that works when you have multiple bass players or multiple guitar players. Is that more difficult than doing a solo artist collaboration?
It can be. I think it was easy with the Old Dominion thing. We met them. We were doing an Allman Brothers tribute in New York, and they were on the bill with us. And we met them backstage and realized like we had a lot in common with the way the bands had gotten together and how long we've been playing and some of the influences. And literally, the song was based on Only Sent Old Dominion, which is a little different from Labs. And I was like, hey, I don't know if y'all, they like 30 seconds we're in. So that's kind of like worked out for me. We tried to do some in the past, but it felt a little bit more forced, like label driven kind of thing. But all these were friends, and we knew they were fans of the band, and we'd get the sort of feeling of the song. And I don't know if y'all know, but Foy is like maybe one of the most people in the world that is not a big artist like that, but has written a bunch of songs with Ed Sheeran and all that. It's just, and so I've always thought like we got to get him on something that's like heavy, heartfelt kind of thing, because he's got that sort of thing, and he killed it. So.
Right.
Bruce
Go ahead.
Bruce Springsteen.
Yeah, explain your hat. Like,
what's going on?
Yeah, it's just it's a Nashville like stylist that makes these hats that I found at a vintage store. But I've always like it's kind of I think a play on that like Born in the USA stuff where everybody like made that like a patriotic song and actually a little bit of a protest song.
Right. Yeah, I love it when people misinterpret songs completely.
Dude, we're the king of it. I mean, I tell a story like we've had so many singers here. We had a song early on called Gold, which obviously was about death. And NASCAR used it. It's like, like, oh, there you go.
You touched on it a little bit earlier. The wide demographic that you guys cover. I feel like do like Southern conservative people want to adopt you as one of their own, and then the rock people want to adopt you as their own. And I know that the Christian music community loves to latch onto anyone who's vaguely Christian.
Sure.
Switchfoot, for example.
Yeah. No, I've definitely been. It's more so now, which is crazy to say. Like, and maybe there was that sort of people just hated Christian music, so it's like that was kind of a tough deal to get over because we dialed that way. But now it's just like that's the way everything is. There's almost like two cancel cultures now. Like if you're conservative and you say a certain thing, you're canceled. If you're liberal and you say a certain thing, you're canceled for that. It's just gotten where the sides are so much wider. But I think for us, we've always tried to like just keep it simple with the band in terms of like, what are we going through? What do we feel? Let's talk about that. And like try to keep from getting like caught up in that, like letting people own us. Cause obviously that's incredibly limiting as an artist. And we say this all the time, but we don't really even think about the audience when we're writing music. And that's hard to do the longer you've done it. You kind of know what your fans would like maybe, but that's our worst stuff has ever been written. It was written with that in mind. Like, oh, these people will love this thing. It's like, who cares about that? Just make what you like.
Yeah. Love that.
What does the songwriting process look like, considering that like every bandmate has input? Is there ever any clashing of ideas, or
fist fights, giant brawls?
Yeah. We had a fist fight years ago. It's been a long time.
No. In the studio.
What's that? Not
in the studio.
Actually. But I mean, we were just, the truth is like everybody has strong opinions. The trick is to not get rid of conflict, but have healthy conflict. I think when we can get our egos out of the way, somebody can have an idea and we give it time and listen to it, and then we're like, we don't like this. You're not crushed. It's not like, oh, they killed me. They just killed the idea, And then the same way, don't take credit for ideas. That's the hardest thing I think being in a band for this long is some spark happens in the studio and then that becomes a hit song. And now whoever that guy is thinks they're the genius, the gift of music. When in reality, like it only happens because we're all in there together and we're kind of beating it up. Nobody's idea is only their idea. So I kind of love that part of it. It takes a little bit longer probably on a band record than I have a solo project called Walter Woods, which is a little easier when you're like the boss. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's like
yeah.
what you're saying, good. But I think with the band, that's kind of I've always thought like Led Zeppelin or something like that would not have been the same without any one of those members. And that's been
Mhm.
the it's like if you're going to do a band, might as well be like that.
Right, right. What did you, and because you have this interesting situation, you grew up, the band's from South Carolina. You have a little bit of a draw, especially to our East Coast. Well, I'm from Kansas City originally, which you will be in Kansas City in a few days. What did you grow up listening to? What kind of influenced the kind of music that you wanted to make?
Yeah, I think the stuff that hit me the hardest was I grew up in like a my dad was a preacher, so I grew up in like a pretty like I don't know, contemporary church, I guess. Like I had a band and everything, but really diverse. Like not like you're thinking like Southern Baptist kind of thing. It was kind of rock and roll.
Non-denominational.
Yeah, yeah, and really like it was cool because it's the only place you can play when you're 15. It's not like you can go out and play in a club. So I learned how to play through that, and a lot of the music there is like that I loved about gospel was like it was songs that you were meant to live to, like that you could lean on in a tough time. That felt like very just had something. Wasn't just about the weekend. And I think the music was Joe Cocker or Ray Charles or the Black Crows, all those things that felt achy to me were the things that like I gravitated to. And I still feel like probably I'd say, that's the biggest comment we get when, coming through a meet and greet or something like I got married. I walked down the aisle to your song, or my first kid, I named him, or, like even at my dad's funeral, we played this song or whatever. I think that's kind of where we live in the world, is making music people can live to.
Yeah, you mentioned Joe Cocker, Chris Robinson, both big soulful vocalists, big,
Yeah.
big hooks and really emotional, intense vocals. So when you were kind of coming with your vocal style, were those the kind of guys that you modeled after? Because I feel like your vocal style can translate from like hard rock, or you can go country, or I could see you doing a straight up gospel, not maybe like a Gaither family thing,
Sure.
but like you could go into the gospel direction.
Yeah, I think honestly, my voice is like kind of is what it is. Like it's gotten better over the years in terms of the strength of it and sort of the growl and all that stuff. But honestly, like it was always weird. I just remember like the first time I played when I was 16, first time I played in front of people, they were like, "Whoa, that's unique." I don't think they were saying it was good. It was just like that's different. And so we kind of, I mean, I tell people I was like, I have a fat voice, so like I have to be careful. Get in the mix. It's like too big, takes over everybody else. But yeah, it's really just like the voice. I think it's just been developed on the road. But those people that sang that way feel something. I always thought like the vein popping out of the neck, the like sweaty singer kind of thing was like
Yeah,
that.
like Meatloaf or something. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just like I just think there's so much passion to that. I think people can feel that, and so you have to dial it back for certain songs and vibes and all that. But that's probably the sweet spot.
Yeah. 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 Um, we talked a little bit about the categorization. How have you kind of straddled that line where you don't irritate the Christian part
Yeah,
of your base, but you can also sing to a secular audience? How have you kind of straddled that line over the years? And how do you feel about this sort of category that you've been put in?
yeah. Honestly, we don't do it very well. Probably we've made a lot of mistakes over the years in that, and a lot of it was just naive. Like the first record deal we signed was with Atlantic Records, and all these like Christian labels had tried to sign us before that, and we just weren't interested. It was like that's not the way we want to go. But I grew up like pretty conservative background. My parents would only let me listen to Christian music until I was like 12 or 13 or something like that. So they had these little Christian bookstores where you could go listen to the demos, and we would just like sit in there and try to find anything cool. So it was like all kinds of crazy metal and whatever was like sneaking through the cracks is what I was listening to. So we signed with Atlantic. I was like, hey, could y'all put this in those bookstores for kids like me? And that's literally how this kind of thing like went. It was a naive thing for me, like not knowing like this will be categorized in a certain way. uh,
Yeah.
Atlantic just literally had no idea at the time. They were like, we don't care, I mean whatever. Like they were like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
sure. And so
It's
I think a lot of that is like how that this thing got to where it is, and now it's so uncontrollable. And I think it'd be unfair for me to say like I love when people interpret our songs any way they want. You know, I want people to feel that relationally. Like if I write about my kids, but they think it's about their wife, that's awesome. You know, so it's the same way they feel like Christian song. I don't want to be like, no. You know, so I don't
Yeah,
have.
I was listening to your catalog, you know, getting ready for this interview, and I'm listening to some of your songs. I'm like, is this about a woman or about God? Like
Yeah. And I think most of the time we know in the song, but I also have always liked that. Like I would say our writing style is trying to let the audience be a co-author in it, if that makes sense. You know, it's like I feel like our experiences are limited, so it's nice when people can apply their experiences. We talk about the feelings and the emotions that are human in it. That allows that. I feel like the listener hears it and it goes, "Oh, that reminds me of my cousin, whatever, this friend I had when I was a kid, or whatever it is." To me, and that's very Bruce Springsteen to bring that up. I feel like just the idea that he's writing about a car, but you know it's really not about a car. You know?
Right.
I think
Exactly.
always like been like that we value.
Yeah.
Looking back to like that first deal, right? Like, how cool is it to kind of like, you know, see you go from A to Z?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Do
It's
you ever
crazy.
have those moments?
Yeah. Oh, all the time. All the time.
Yeah.
It still feels, and a lot of that stuff still feels like yesterday, even though it's been a really long time. But you know, I just remember we got signed. We go to New York, and they like take us to this restaurant. None of us had been to like a nice restaurant like that, and at the time, none of us even drank. I think our drummer maybe did, and they bought like the $1,000 bottle of wine or whatever, and we were passing the wine under the table to the drummer because all of us don't want to be like embarrassed or whatever. You know what I mean? It was such an overwhelming thing in those first few years. I think that's the thing that's changed the most, being comfortable in like a lot of different situations, seeing the world and all that. But all the time I walk out, because I have kids, I go home, it's like regular life. You know what I mean? I can kind of dip out of all of this. And then you step into an arena and it's like 10,000 people and they know all the words. And like, I think it's easy because we don't walk around like rock stars outside of doing this thing, but we kind of turn on and we go on the shows. And
Like Hannah Montana.
yeah, exactly. The Bono, like all these have characters that they put together. I think that's like a little self-protective also, and that's really, I think we've learned to use that.
Balance, yeah.
Yeah, because inevitably there'll be stuff that people don't like, and you're going to make mistakes. It's like it's important to know it's like it's not you that they don't like. You know, it's just music that you're making, and when they love it, it's also not you that they like. You know, they like this music, the thing you're delivering.
What does making a Need to Breathe album look like in terms of, I know the more successful you are, you get bigger budgets, but also once you've made several albums, you kind of know the routine. What is it easier? Is it harder? Maybe there's more red tape because there are bigger productions. Like, what is it like making an album now versus 15 years ago?
I mean, it's easier in some ways because we obviously have gotten better at it, and we sort of know the people we want to work with and the type of places where it's going to be best for us. It's very old school. It takes about a year to make a record for us. Not all on that whole. Like the band needs to work the songs out. We need to really feel like that, and it's tough to record a band like that. So many records are made on laptops now, so it's a little bit taking a long way to get there. But also the hard part is knowing too much. Like that's the probably hard. That's the thing.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was referring to. You become like Demi's usually the one to ask about this, but being a perfectionist in the studio about how picky you are about the mix, all that kind of stuff. Has that become more intense?
Definitely. I think we're aware of it more, and I think too, just like you know what you're capable of. It's like, oh, this could tie up better or whatever, but the result might not be better. So it's like this polished version of the thing is like what actually gives the emotion to people, and most listeners aren't that kind of thing. But one thing that we've always done is like anytime something sounded nice to us, we went the opposite way. So like I remember the first nice guitars we got, we would never record with them because we're like, those are too get the cheapest crap kind of thing, and let's turn it way up. So there's always a little bit of that, like the sort of I guess folk kind of influence some of that stuff. Of like, let's keep it a band and let's keep it small town, even though we have those budget places, and you could have anybody play on.
Speaking of guitars, are you a big gear collector guy? Are you one of those guys that has 25, 30 guitars
I
and
do,
7 keyboards, or like what's
I
your instrument collection like?
it's mostly guitars. And I probably have 30 or so. I'm a big, I like the old acoustic stuff. Like I like old Gibsons the most. So like anything 50s and 60s.
Wow.
So you're Gibson over Martin when it comes to acoustic?
I am, yeah. Yeah.
What
Yeah.
about electric?
I'm still Gibson. I play at 335 most of the time.
It's the crunch. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I like sort of the dirtiness of all that. Like, and even the nicer new ones, they put new pickups in them and stuff. I'm always like, I can't get the thing. So I'm a little bit that way, and we're still an amp band. So, I mean, most bands see us low. What this is like from, but we still have the double amps on each, on the rig thing. We take that serious.
What do you personally like? What do you listen to nowadays? Like, do you find time to listen to music, other people's music, or?
I do. It's weird. I go in cycles. Like when I'm making a record, probably I listen more, and then when I'm off, I kind of take a little bit and try not to inspire too much before I start writing. But we just all know a con. I'm a big I love Tame Impala. There's so much new things happen with lyrically that probably is the thing that right now happening where there's so much more freedom in it. There was a period there felt like 10 years where like the formula of a verse to chorus had to be exactly that. Now, even in pop, like the big songs, even about the Flowers song, Miley Cyrus, like that could have been a folk song from 10 years before it. You know what I mean?
Right.
There's just so much freedom to me of an expression, and the fact that things can go viral and all that, people are picking up on the actual, is this new? Is this fresh? Like, is this somebody's real take?
Damn. That's interesting. That's interesting. Wow.
I just think that seems like I have a kid, a friend of mine named Steven Sanchez that hit last year, and it came out of nowhere. This kid has
we had Steven on the show about 6 months ago, maybe.
So like only 2 years ago, he was at a Wilder Woods show, dressed like me, wearing the same suit Wilder Woods was wearing, right? And he's backstage, and his dad, hey, he play you a song. And I'm like, I guess it's one of those like kind of awkward moments, that's how I met it. And literally like a year later, he's got this song. So that's like, it's a, whereas you used to have respect, like you get played on K-Rock, like you're big, and now it's happening in a kind of a cool way. I think it's lowered the barrier of entry and also allowed the creative stuff to just like really be bubbling up.
Well, it's just not as specific a sound that you're going for now. I mean, I was listening to You Are Here, like a few hours ago, and then listened to Caves, and you can tell it's the same band, but I definitely feel like You Are Here felt like it was sort of chasing that mid 2000s sort of like Daughtry style, like top 40 rock kind of thing.
It was always like My Chemical Romance and all that kind of stuff was going on at the time.
That's the vibe.
Yeah, it's funny that like when we first signed with Atlantic, their big thing was like, hey, we want you to be more emotional, which is like less redneck. And so Outsiders record for us was the first one where you put a banjo on it, harmonica, all that stuff was like really natural. That was of course like probably a year before and that kind of thing happened. But Atlantic used to be like, yeah, you put a harmonica on there, so no one will play. There was so many rules about stuff, and now there's just not. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's funny. We have a pretty close relationship with Atlantic, and I photograph several Atlantic artists, work with them on different projects, and they have a very much like nowadays. They're very much like whatever the artist giving them the movement and the freedom, and because of that whole you were talking about, the viralness is you don't know, it could be some, like think about how unlikely a song like Old Town Road, like basically a country influenced song sang by an African-American queer singer, like it just doesn't, you just have no idea now.
Yeah, I think it made it like it felt this way back in the day. For just why is the radio playing the same song? Like, the only thing you could listen to. Now it's like playlists or vibes and all that kind of stuff. So people, they have the choice, and they're making nothing. That's only making the art better, in my opinion. I hope that we get back to where music is valuable. The one thing I hate about the one art form that price, and so therefore it's like doesn't matter what you make it for, it doesn't matter how it. You know, there was a time like like Aerosmith record or whatever to make a record like that now would cost you millions of dollars. Nobody spends music. I hate that part, but the idea that yeah, anyone can jump in with if they got a song it's like from their soul and people react to it like they get a ticket to the game.
And I do find it, I am sort of pleased that Nashville is loosening up their standards of what is a country song and what's not a country song. And for years, and that's one thing I thought about when I'm listening to you guys is that, you know, if you're too hard, then you're country rock. And if you're too soft, then you're bluegrass or you're something, you know, and you have guys like Zach Bryan and you know, Casey Musgraves and people just kind of like getting songs that are hits on the country charts, but also don't feel like canned, you know, conveyor belt country music. I know. I feel like I'm like shitting on Nashville right now, but
no. I mean, honestly, we didn't move. I moved there about 6 years ago. And the reason we didn't the 10 years before that was because of that exact thing. We're like, every record sounds the same coming out of there. Like there's not enough, but a lot of stuff happened. You know, Jack White moved there and the Black Keys moved there. It's like all this, like that kind of rock stuff. And then a bunch of pop artists, like everybody from LA writes in there because the lyricists are incredible. And that it's like a thing pop didn't have in LA. And I feel like that, it is wide open. Like there's a East Nashville is like the little Brooklyn of Nashville, kind of like where like you go out and see a crazy band any night of the week, and it's not country or rock or what. It's just like something fresh, and so that's a fun scene to be in right now.
Yeah.
When I hear you talk about like songs or just like songwriting in general, I just feel like I want to ask this question, and it's like, what makes a good song to you? Not even just a hit song, but what makes a good song?
I think it could be different things. I think the songs that last are the ones that I'm after. I think that I look back and go, man, we did that 10 years ago. We could put this on a new record and it would still be great. A lot of times for me, that's like, if I could play it on acoustic or a piano and just a vocal, that's a real song. But saying that, like, you know, there's such a world for vibe music right now. Like, you know, some of my Wilderwood stuff, the solo stuff, it's like just a cool throwback vibe. And like, it's not really about, you know, having the hook at the end of the chorus, or it's just like, man, I want to put this on and have it in the background a little bit. So I think those are good songs too, just in a different way. But probably the things that I just like, you know, it's Hey Jude and those kind of songs, like that's going to be hard to beat for me, you know, when I come back to them.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us on the show. The new album Caves is out now. You're on tour. You have a second leg of the tour in the spring too, right?
Yeah, it'll be all the outdoor, like amphitheaters, Red Rocks, and all that kind of stuff. So yeah,
nice. You love it. All right, Bear. Thanks a lot. We'll talk to you later.
Of course, man. Thanks for having me. Appreciate y'all.
All right. Bye. All right, Demi. Let's cut this off. Let's end this. As always, go to popdust.com for the latest in pop culture and music news. Follow me on Instagram at Jordan Edwards Studio. Follow Demi at Demi_Ramos. Until next time, we'll see you later.